Hello everyone, this is Mingjong. Welcome to today's market analysis for the S&P 500 E-mini futures. That's for the session of 15th of June. In this video, I am going to show you the market recap on the last session, plus two trade reviews and an entry time frame, which I will cover the entry, exits, and the rationale behind. And that setup was based on a localized breakout. And the first attempt, I got stopped out, and the second attempt was a win. Going forward, I will cover the bias, the key levels to pay attention to, and also the potential setup for the session later. So let's just get started. As you can see in this S&P 500 daily chart here, last Friday, I actually anticipated a test for the prior day, Thursday sell-off. So I talk about Friday should be a test day, and we should see the automatic rally. So indeed, we did have a rally, but it was way weaker than I actually anticipated, because you just okay, maybe you can't really see it clearly here. Let me go to the H1 time frame. You can have a better look here. So you can see that on Thursday we have a very sharp sell-off from the top here during the London session plus the US session, and subsequently on the Friday in the morning we have a little bit of the rally off the low here, and subsequently even during the US session we didn't really have much progress up. So you can see that I think the highest point that we have ever touched was this bar, slightly tested 3076. So I actually tested this selling bar here on the 12th of June, 12 a.m. Midnight. So the rally is actually very weak. So what I anticipate was something like this. Maybe you can just test at least the day high, or at least go into slightly above maybe 3,100. But it didn't really attempt to penetrate 3,100. In fact, it just tested this selling bar on Thursday, and eventually we have another reaction down. But the bullish sign or the constructive behavior for the reaction was that you can see that there wasn't much progress to the downside. So this is the first leg down. We can see a very sharp sell-off. You can take it from the bottom of this support level here, and you can see that there is a lot of the progress from the sell-off. So this reaction on last Friday was actually slightly created a lower low, so which is a sign of weakness, as I mentioned in my weekly market roundup that I posted on Sunday. So this isn't looking that bullish so far, but so far I think it will just still within a trading range, which I talk about that on the Thursday video. Yeah, and I think this is a kind of the maybe down sloping range, maybe something like this, and we have another support here. It could do something like that to have a down sloping trading range instead of the usual horizontal trading range that we usually see. But anyway, I will talk more in the video later after I have reviewed my trades. So I did talk about that I have two trade reviews, but in fact, I think I can just lump it up as only one, because the first attempt was a failure. I tried to short the market, but did get stopped out. Let me get down to the M3 time frame, and you can see that. Let me get to last Friday. Okay, there we go. So last Friday, I did talk about a potential short scenario if we have a test of the H4 bar. Maybe let me get, okay, let me squeeze this. So what I mean was actually a test up to 3,100. So it's somewhere around there. but it didn't really go to anything above 3075. So in fact, it just tested the H1 selling bar, which I pointed out earlier on. And you can see that just prior to the US opening session, we have a small range form. And just prior to that, we have a breakout. And at the opening bar here, 9:30 my time here, we have seen a reversal bar, and this is quite a significant bar. So at that point, I just initiate a short entry after the close of this bar. And that at that point, I just anticipate the sell-off could begin here because it actually kind of like tested this green line here, which is the benchmark line that I draw up to test the H1 bar, which I mentioned earlier on. So he actually just attempt to test it without really uptrust or do anything to cross above this line. So I just short at this level. So unfortunately, you can see that subsequently there wasn't any follow-up to the downside. And in fact, we have seen a very bullish bar on 9:39 p.m. my time. And actually, this bullish bar tested this line here, 3076. But subsequently, there wasn't any upside follow through as well. So I just got stopped out at this bar, 9:39. So it's very short duration trade within 10 minutes, got stopped out. Subsequently, I just reassess the situation and just prompting like questions like not sure whether it will just keep going up to form a stronger automatic rally to test higher targets before it turned down, or it will just turn down from here on. So at that time, I just didn't really trade or do anything until this point here. You can see that this is a small structure form here. Some people might recognize it as like head and shoulder pattern, or you can just simply call it like a double top, things like that. So, but this is a slightly lower top here. We have a high here and then a lower high. So if for pattern traders, you can just treat this as a head and shoulder pattern. For have a shoulder, left shoulder here, and the head here, and the right shoulder, and eventually followed by a break. But if you just take, let me do it. Yeah, if you just take this first 3 minutes bar as a benchmark, so you can see that just after this all this while, like we have probably around, maybe let me get rid of this. Okay, you're using this range here as a benchmark. You can see that just until about 10 past 10 my time here, so around 40 minutes we get stuck within this little range here, and only at this bar we have a breakout from this small structure here, and this is where I actually initiated my short position again. So that was my second attempt, try to short the market, and with a stop just above the level here, because the extreme volatility during this period, so my stop is a lot wider than my usual stop. And you can see that at this time, after it breaks and followed by a test and reversal. So this is quite a nice textbook style setup for the breakout trade or breakout test plus reversal trade. So eventually it just trend lower, and I just took my partial profit at this swing low here. So that's about 2R, which is pretty good. And eventually I just trail my stop, and I think I'll just exit somewhere around near the swing low here. So this is the low swing low form on Thursday. So I just exit all my positions there. So you can see that this is another 3.3R here, which was pretty decent. And that was about it. The two trades, first attempt was a failure, and then second attempt I scaled on my position and got roughly around 2.5R, which was pretty decent. And subsequently, I didn't really initiate any trade because it was kind of late on my end. It's around 11:30 time, night time here. But you can see that if we trade this level, the price swing low as a key level, which I did mention, potential long scenario, as long as it can just bounce out from here, then you can probably recognize some of the reversal trade here. I just annotate here. This is one of the potential long trade. So you can just open up a long entry here, and subsequently you can just exit it somewhere around here, because this is where you actually hit the resistance, or you can just tag this where the selling point, selling begins. So this is the origin of the selling. So you can exit somewhere around there, or you can even trail the stop, and I think eventually you will get stop somewhere around there as well, maybe on this bearish bar. And again, if you recognize this kind of the pattern does really resembles itself or mimic itself with the first short entry that I initiated here. So this is again another kind of the structure, like we have from a high here, a slightly lower high, or you can just treat this whole thing as a little head and shoulder thing. And just look at this portion here. So this is the peak here, also coincides with the resistance level, followed by a change of character bar, and subsequently we have a test, and then eventually we just have some kind of the rejection. So these two bar were rejection, and eventually we just break the localized support. So this trade is very similar to the first trade that I initiated here. So you can see that this is the breakdown, and I initiated here, and this is another breakdown from the localized structure. And if you were staying or monitor the market live, then probably I think was a good entry, good short entry. You can initiate a position here and trail the stop and trade all the way down here. So plenty of the opportunities, especially during this high volatility period. All right, so this is the trade review. I think 2 trades and end up pretty well, apart from the first trade. I think this is a pretty common scenario for encountered by a lot of the trader as well, because sometimes that we just got stopped out the first try, first attempt, and we just need to be more patient and wait for another great opportunity to get in and have a second try. All right, so let me just get down to the H1 time frame, and I will talk a bit more on the situation now, because I think we are still in a very volatile period, and based on the movement since Thursday sell off, Friday's rebound, and plus today's also during the Asian and London session, we have seen another sell off as well. So that also fulfill the down sloping range that I anticipate as well. But you can see that on a Friday, actually the volume is still relatively high, and because this day was actually kind of like a rebound day or a test day, what I want to see for the more bullish case is actually to have a higher test. Means that the rally could actually go up a bit higher, or even 3,100, so somewhere around there. But you can see that the rebound was actually met by some sort of the supply, and eventually we have seen sell-off begin on a Friday and only recover at the last 2 hours. And definitely there's a supply there. Supply is still relatively high. And also you can, if we look at the daily time frame, you can see that this kind of the movement, so super big spread bar and relatively actually I would say is very high supply level, it does definitely mimics this kind of the movement in February during the sell-off period. So we have also seen really bearish bar, big spread bar together with a very high volume level. So it does, the character does mimics the sell-off in February this year. So we just need to be careful, despite that I mentioned because of the lack of the causes built for the distribution. So what I mean is like this. If you look at the H1 time frame, let me zoom out a little bit here. You can see that the distribution top here is actually relatively short. And if you look at the point and figure here, you can see what I mean. I can use 15 minutes. So you can see that the causes built for the distribution, in fact, is really this little portion, and subsequently, based on the projected calculation target, it has been fulfilled, especially just now, because I'm not sure whether it showed up here. Let me grab this. Let me zoom out a bit. Okay, there we go. So that was actually my calculation. So I have the first calculation, or the first target. The minimum is about 3040. So it actually just hit that on the first day of the sell off on Thursday, and subsequently today actually definitely hit 2938. I think is down to around 2930. So definitely, I think has been fulfilled, but that doesn't really mean that it will definitely stop the down move. It just it makes perfect sense and very logical to have some kind of the stopping action, especially if you look at the vertical chart here. So this is the top, the support level of the trading range here. So I think we are pretty much within this range. So what I actually anticipate was some kind of the trading range form. So we are pretty much done with this up move, and now it's just go into a trading range, and it could do something like this for the very bullish case. So it just consolidate within this range, like from 3230 down to 2920, something like that. Or it could just have this kind of the movement, a bit sloping down, and the trading range could range from like 3100 and then to a bit slope down like 2930. So it could do something like that. Maybe let me draw this up a bit better. So something like this down sloping range is possible as well, because this kind of the character strong acceleration to the downside actually mimic this kind of movement. I think we just need to be aware that it could just have further downside target, and if it did just keep falling, I think the next level, logical level, is around 2890, or we can just round up to 2900. If this level is broken, I think it's relatively bearish. We should see some kind of the level to defend that the spring level around 2800 or 2780. So the immediate supporting level definitely is a 2930 now, and 2900, and eventually if it just broke below, then we should see this range here like around 2770 to provide some kind of the support. And the immediate resistance level we're looking at definitely is obvious level at 2970. I think this is the selling bar here. So 2970 is the resistance level, and also the swing high here around 3075, and also definitely the psychological level 3000. So what I'm actually looking at for the potential shorting scenario is rally up to test the key levels 2970, then can probably initiate a short entry if there was some kind of the rejection. All right, so I think pretty much close to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it and like it. If you like it, just click like, and also hover to my name, channel, and to follow me, and to remember to subscribe to my channel so that you get instant notification of my future videos. All right, thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon.